it going, Robo Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name's Braden. I'm one of the co-founders here. Special guest today. We are on live customer interview number 9. I've been doing these every week, and they've been extremely inspiring. Hopefully, if you guys have tuned in to any of them or watched any of the past ones, you've gotten a little bit of inspiration from them as well. Feel free to a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any comments that you want to post, go ahead and post them below. I can actually bring them up on the screen so we can actually ask Jesse certain questions if you have them once I bring them on. And you can ask me questions, or you can just say, hey, I love this interview. Thank you so much. So all that stuff I can bring on the screen. So, and if you have any questions after the fact, write them below, and then I'll also answer them later on the actual post, because it's going to stay live on our Facebook page, and we'll put it on YouTube as well. So let's go ahead and introduce our guest here. He is honestly one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He's been a customer of ours for years. He's been an advocate of the Robo brand. We brought him actually to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas a couple years ago. He showcased one particular amazing print of his that I'm sure you'll be seeing in a minute here. And he's also a retired U.S. Army vet, Special Ops Delta Force, certified badass. So let's get him on this channel. His name is Jessie Sasser. I'm going to bring him in right now on the split screen. Jesse, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Braden? Robo Nation, thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, first off, on behalf of me, as well as the Robo Nation, I'm sure, thank you so much for your service to the country. First and foremost, obviously it's because of people like you that the mass majority of the population gets to live in peace. So thank you so much for everything that you've done and do.
Well, thank you for your support.
Yeah, no problem. Let's start. I always start off actually with this question, which is the most important one to set the groundwork here, is who is Jessie Sasser? Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Southeast Texas, and I joined the military as soon as I got out of high school. As soon as I turned 18, and I was able to join. Went through basic training and decided that I loved it. I loved the structure of it. I loved the discipline, and ended up staying in the military for a very long time.
You were in there for quite a while, huh?
Yeah, I did 20 years and retired in April 1st, 2015.
Now, how far can you talk about, or how much can you talk about in terms of, because you were very high up in the military, is that something you're allowed to share? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. I retired as a first sergeant, which and I went in the military as a mechanic. So I was one of those kids that really loved to do things with his hands.
Yeah.
I just thought like being a mechanic would always serve me great. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Regardless of what happens, I could always fix my own stuff if I ever needed to.
A true maker at heart.
Yes.
Yes. That's what I love.
And then back in 2003, we had this mandatory briefing in the military to go do some special ops training seminar, and I went to it, and I just ended up happening to be in the right place at the right time, and one thing led to another, and it was kind of it was a very exciting time in my life, to say the least.
How many people? I mean, you probably don't know off the top of your head, but like, I'm assuming it's a very low percentage of people that go through the military process that you actually went through, from mechanic all the way to special ops, right? Yeah.
So for something that I did specifically that I'm sort of proud of, I got into a position that I was the only one in history being my specific MOS to reach the status that I'd reached. Yeah. And so that was it was very life-changing for me. Yeah. A lot of great things, a lot of exciting things happened while I was in the military.
Yeah, that's why I said certified badass right there. And Jesse, when I first met you, you're like, a very just humble, the nicest guy, one of the nicest guys I've literally ever met. And, it's cool that you have this background of so much experience. You've raised such a high level in the military, which is amazing. and you're very humble about it, which is cool. Actually,
yeah. So. And I think I told you this story. That was actually one of the reasons I got into 3D printing. Yeah. Like I had when I retired, there was like a gap that I felt it needed to be filled. Yep. I used a lot of equipment, a lot of specialized equipment, a lot of equipment that conventional Army didn't get an opportunity to use. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to come in, step in, and say, hey, look, mechanic decay. There we go. I wanted to step in and say, hey, look, we have I had some great equipment, and I wanted to make that available, like to the conventional Army. And the only way to do that I knew of at the time was to make it accessible. And so I had a bunch of great ideas. Anytime you get started into 3D printing, you have this idea that's really huge.
Yeah. Always, right? Always.
And then reality kicks in. Yeah. And, I went from, after I got my 3D printer, I talked to you, and you really, man, you believed in me. We had a very personal conversation before I even bought my printer, which was amazing. The co-founder of the company decided to talk to me personally. Yeah,
I'm a big believer in just I can feel certain things about certain people, and when I talk to you, I don't know. I just felt like you got it. I felt like you knew you wanted to do something great with it, and it was just like, I don't know. It's empowering to me, so that's why
So I ended up getting the printer, and one of the first things, I didn't know much about CAD, so I started learning, and that's one of the great things this day and age. You don't have to go back to school to learn. Yep. You got the internet, you got YouTube, Udemy, Linda. I mean, there's so much right at the fingertips, and if you want to continue to learn, there it is. Not undermining a professional education, but
most people ask me, they're like, how did you learn how to build a 3D printer? I was like, we went on forums, and we went on YouTube, and we found out like how to build kits, and it is really at your disposal. It's not that complicated. You don't have to go to necessarily a class or a college university. I mean, everything is there and it's online. I'm glad you mentioned things like Udemy and like Linda and other places. Most people just go to YouTube, but there's a lot of great resources out there to actually learn.
A good friend of mine, Pat McNamara, said in one of his videos, he said, you gain experience. Normally you gain experience right after you need it. So that was kind of my process. I would get to the point where, oh man, I should have done it this way, or I should have done it that way. Yeah. But so
when did you retire from the military?
April 1st, 2015.
April 1st, 2015. And then how quickly after that did you start getting into 3D printing? Or when did you discover it while you were still in the military? And then Okay.
I had my first 3D printer about 90 days after I got out.
90 days after you. Oh, wow. So that was very, very quick.
Yeah, because even in December of 2014, I already was thinking about what am I going to do when I get out and stuff. Yeah. And I was thinking about, it's a very, you don't know. There's like you don't know exactly how it's going to be. I spent more of my life in the military, and I had financial structure and support coming from the military. I had medical, I had insurance, everything was taken care of. Yeah. It was so it was a little scary. It was a little intimidating at first, and so my mind was all over the place, and I was like, man, what can I do if for some reason my retirement doesn't take care of our bills? How am I going to support this family? And so being me, I wanted to do something that I really wanted to do, and loving to be able to do things with my hands. This was just one of those things that came natural. And so I started on this path of, I want to make military gear, but I want to do it in a way that I know works correctly. It functions properly. Yeah. And like, I had some issues with some of the gear that I wore. Yeah. And so I had these design ideas, and later on, come to find out, there's a reason these companies make stuff a certain way, even though sometimes it fails. Yeah. It's probably because they don't want it to fail in another way. Yeah.
I know you always fix a problem and create a new problem, right? That's a story of our.
That's exactly
story of a lot of design iterations on our machines. So I know it very well.
I'm not an engineer, and that's exactly what's happening. I'm sitting here, I'm trying to come up with new concepts and new ideas, and I don't know exactly how things work together functionally from an engineer standpoint. And so what ended up happening, I got it. I started getting into it about 3 months into it. I was learning so much about CAD design, and simulation was a big one. In SolidWorks, you could simulate things and see where the point of failure is.
So your main software program that you're using to design was SolidWorks.
Yes. Yeah. So and one of the things I will give a shout out to SolidWorks real quick. They have a student version for veterans. For $40, you can get the full version of SolidWorks.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah,
and if you look at the actual price, it's a lot cheaper for someone.
Yeah, big shout out to SolidWorks on that one. Good call. That's pretty cool.
So what I ended up doing, I had this mindset of functionality.
Yeah.
How can I make these things work? And then the thing that I didn't realize is there's two kind of parts to 3D printing.
Yeah.
You got this functionality, rapid prototyping, and then you got art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know it very well.
Is what I really after I was like, man, I could do other things with this. They got all these websites, and with the websites, you could go on there and you could see other people's designs. I can name a bunch of websites, but you can go in there and get a bunch of other people's designs, and they might. Back to the functionality portion, they might have done it or designed it a different way. If I'm looking for a hinge, for example, I might not be thinking of, I'm just thinking of a door hinge.
I know. It promotes a lot of creativity and discovery. I noticed that too myself. When I think of the same thing. I'm like, oh, I need this piece. And I go and look at it. I'm like, God, that guy's so smart how he designed it.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And
it's cool to kind of see that.
Yep. And I use that, and because of that, I thought I knew everything. I didn't. No, nothing. No. But because of that, my designs started getting a life of their own. And then, close to the final design, it's nothing like the original design. And then but on the art side, that was something where I didn't really have to go and do a lot of research, and I didn't have to worry about testing my products and simulating failure.
You're being free. That's what 3D printing is about, right? It's freedom of making. So you were like thinking freely, thinking artistically, thinking creatively, and which I honestly, one of the things that I love about 3D printing is it like promotes creativity and sometimes people that aren't creative. And that's a cool thing to watch, the discovery moments. I've seen a lot of those happen when I'm at trade shows and things like that. Is people that just all of a sudden get it and they just go, whoa, and then they're really excited. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So it's sort of these moments of discovery. And so it sounds like you had one of those yourself.
Yeah. And, what I was doing is it was good. The whole process was good.
Yeah.
Even during my initial functionality CAD phase, where I was like, I'm designing stuff for a purpose, and what it ended up doing, like I have problems falling asleep, just like a lot of veterans out there, that have really seen a lot of freaking combat. I have problems falling asleep sometimes, and what I noticed was happening is it started becoming a passion.
Yeah.
So at night, I would get so close to really designing something that was so awesome, and I wanted to show it off to people. And so I would run into a little problem, a little snafu, and then instead of at night contemplating stuff that happened overseas or whatnot, my mind would be wrapped up in trying to resolve issues inside my product.
Yeah, that was interesting to me because a lot of when you first reached out to me, you told me a lot about your story, and when we started this business, I never would have thought like of it being something that was for you very like in a way therapeutic is how you described it.
Yeah.
Whether it was 3D design, 3D printing, it was just like something that took your mind away from the things that you needed to take your mind away from for a brief, even if it was for a brief period of time. And that was like so relaxing for you. And that was just amazing to hear you say that. And so that was another reason why I was like, okay, I have to like do what I can to get him involved in 3D printing, whether it's donating machines or something, because this is just an incredible use case for us.
Yeah, and it was a very unexpected and like unintended side effect where, you know, I fall asleep thinking about how to improve my designs.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was how to improve my art.
Yeah.
You know, what can I do next to really step it up?
Yeah. So you discovered 3D printing. You started learning about design through SolidWorks. This is over, I'm sure, the course of probably a year or so.
Yeah.
Where you're doing this kind of stuff. And then you realize, wow, this is becoming therapeutic in terms of your post-traumatic stress from combat and from the war. And then you start designing things, and there's one particular piece that you designed that you printed. You designed it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I designed it from scratch. That part of the reason why we brought you out, other than you just being an amazing person, was to CES that year, the Consumer Electronics Show, because we wanted to showcase this piece you made. So can we pull this up so the audience can see this amazing piece? You guys, if you follow our channel or you follow us, you'll see this piece. But Jesse actually created, what's it called?
Originally I called it the Widow's Web.
Widow's Web, yeah, the Widow's Web guitar. And so that whole foundation there, talk a little bit about this piece, because you know it better than anyone else, right?
Yeah, so what I ended up doing is I really liked the Gibson look, and that's kind of like the style of body you see here, where it's like a big and rounded on the bottom, and it has a little cutout so you can get in here and play these high notes and stuff like that. And I didn't have an electric guitar. I had an acoustic guitar at the time, but I thought of this, and I mean, within 24 hours, I was like, I want to start moving on this, but you know, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. And I just went to the local pawn shop and ended up picking up a donor guitar for like $30.
Yeah,
it worked. And the thing is, it was a Fender style guitar.
Okay.
So those are shaped a lot different than this. And what I ended up having to do is I had to take and create the block out the design, and then take all the dimensions for all these pickups and the neck, and then kind of turn that into a file and then subtract it from the body. So I knew that all these pieces would fit into my design. And basically everything kind of went down from hill from there. I wanted to save space. This was really, I seen a guitar that was 3D printed a long time ago called the Atom. And it was like printed on a $200,000 machine or whatever. And
you printed that on those R1 Pluses back there.
Yeah. And I think they did that, to save. I think they made these holes originally to save like product or whatever. But I made it because it looked really cool. My design's a lot different than theirs, and I went with this kind of like cellulose look, and then I started thinking about it. Originally, the original design didn't even look like this. It kind of looked like a sponge. And then I decided I wanted to do with the Black Widow, sort of make it kind of look like that, and then this would be the web of the widow.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that's kind of the direction I took. And
it's such an amazing piece. I mean, honestly, just every time we post about this piece, it's like it gets the most comments, the most reactions. Like everyone talks about it, everyone shares it. So it's one of the coolest prints that I've personally ever seen, and one of the coolest designs. And so when you talk about you originally got into 3D printing to develop combat material, and that sort of took you down the road. Then you started thinking very creatively and artistically, and this was like your project piece that you ended up developing and finalizing, which is it's so cool to see it. kind of come to life.
And I have a passion. I have a passion for music as well. You know, I play guitar and stuff like that, and mostly string instruments.
Yeah.
But you know, I put this together in my head, and then I started. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you can see the bottom of here.
Yep.
Drop this.
Oh yeah, you told me you broke a piece on it.
But that's the great thing about 3D printing. I can just go back and then print this piece and you know, cut it out and stick it back in there.
It's so funny. Everyone at shows is like, they hold our pieces and they'll like drop it on the ground and it'll like break or something. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's like, it's fine. Let me just load up a file real quick and reprint it.
I went to hang this on a wall at a concert and I stuck it up there in the little, the holder, the guitar neck holder. Yeah. It wasn't on the wall very good, and it dropped about 5 feet. It may have survived if I'd used your carbon fiber material. Yeah. This is just standard PLA. But
how many pieces is that base?
This is 6 pieces.
Or that body, I should say. 6 pieces?
4, 5, 6. 7. I'm sorry, 7.
7 pieces.
So there's a central piece here.
Did we put that online? Did we post that online?
No, 6. Yes,
you posted it on, yeah. So you have it. Is it on Thingiverse?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so you guys can go check it out. It's Black Widow guitar. Yeah.
This is available for people to go and download and print.
Yeah. So for everyone that's watching, we brought Jesse, like I said, to the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, and Jesse comes out and just sits on a chair in front of, and we're just on the floor at our booth, and he just sits there and he's playing this guitar, this 3D printed guitar, which was originally in this amazing case we made for it that had lights beaming down on it. And he's just sitting there like jamming out on this, and people just started coming by and talking to you and watching you play. It was just one of my favorite experiences in the 5 years of this business, watching that moment, because I just saw someone that was like passionate about 3D printing, that designed something that was originally in his head and then it was brought to life, and you're actually sitting there playing it in front of an audience, which is just so cool. So
fully functional electric guitar,
and it's just amazing. And are you in a group? Do you play that with a group?
No, I play this every once in a while.
You just jam out. Yeah, there you go. Cool. I love it. It's an amazing piece. And so is it done in PLA?
Yes, this is the original one. So I've been working on some different designs. A lot of people were saying, hey, I bet if you printed wood PLA, maybe the acoustics might maybe be a little different. Or, you know, I was thinking of carbon fiber in case I drop it again or something like that.
There's a lot of different wood materials now too. So you got the cork fill, the wood fill, a couple different styles of it. So you might have to print a bunch of those guitars. We'll get some people to do it.
Yeah, this was the original design and the original print, the very first one I did.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. What's your favorite material to print? You mostly just print in PLA?
Oh yeah, I love printing in PLA. It smells good. It smells great.
And that was all designed. You designed that whole thing in SolidWorks?
No. So after I was working on some of my functional work, and I started getting into the art. I have ZBrush, and I gotten that a long time ago. Yeah. But the good thing about ZBrush is the keys carry over, you know, every time they upgrade. And so I went and downloaded ZBrush again, and I was able to, I designed the initial like shape of it in SolidWorks, and I took that file into ZBrush and some other programs to add like the holes in it and everything like that.
Yeah, so cool. Such a phenomenal print. Hopefully a lot of people get inspired that are watching this, because it's just one of those true, like, I have an idea to make this. I have a vision for what I want it to be and what I want it to look like. I'm going to learn how to use these tools because I don't have any CAD experience. I'm going to design this piece, figure out how to make it look exactly like it is in my head, and then I'm going to cut it up into pieces because it's too big to print on one platform, print all the different pieces, put it all together, get all the pieces at a local music store, and complete my creation, and then finally play it. So, just a cool like end-to-end story.
This body takes about 100 hours to print, and I get a lot of comments like, "Hey, don't you wish you could just print it all in one Sitting, well, if you've ever done 3D printing, you get all the way to the top up here and something goes wrong with your 3D printer, that's not a great feeling. Yeah. I actually prefer printing it into pieces. I think that your print bed is just the right size. So if, if I do make a mistake or whatever, if I design something poorly, I can just fix that part and go from there.
What's the next? So your next print, are you working on V2 of that?
I think I have a concept in my head. I forgot what it's called, where you could take a photograph and then like shine light behind it.
A lithopane?
There you go.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about making one with some lithopane inside, like pictures of like whatever cool stuff in the back. And then when I turn the lights on, or if I play a chord and the lights come on inside, maybe some red lights, you could see the pictures through the face.
That would be unreal. That would be the coolest. Yeah.
So
that's already ridiculously cool, but that sounds.
At first glance, you might see the guitar, but whenever the lights come on inside, you see the pictures. And that was the concept I have been working with. But
that's amazing. I'm excited. We're gonna follow along and help you in any way that we can. And for anyone that wants to download this guitar, you can go on Thingiverse right now. It's called the Black Widow, right?
Yes, I believe
Black Widow guitar on Thingiverse by Jessie Sasser, the man, the myth, the legend. Any shout outs you want to give before we get out of here?
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to, Braden, I'd like to thank God for bringing me home safe. I spent a lot of time in combat. I'd like to thank my wife, Lisa, and my family for supporting me all those years. I'd like to thank you, Braden, of course, and the team at Robo for making such an awesome product and believing in me. And last but not least, I'd like to thank all the soldiers that serve our country. For those overseas, we are thinking about you and we love you. Please come home safe.
Agreed. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the live. Once again, we're always here to support you. So anything you need, let us know. And hopefully we can follow along this journey with making your new guitar. And you're a huge inspiration for a lot of people. So thanks for everything that you do, man.
Thank you, Braden.
All right. We'll talk soon. If you guys have any questions, if you watch this video later on, you have any questions, just type them in the comment. If they're specifically for Jesse, I'll reach out to Jesse, or Jesse, you can hop on and answer them. But I'll get them answered. If you have questions for us or Robo, I can answer those in the comments thread as well. And then we'll post this on YouTube as well, so you guys can watch the full interview on there if you guys want. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Jesse. This is live customer number 9. Jesse, you're more than a customer, but thank you for coming on and doing this interview. We appreciate it.
Outstanding. Thank you.
All right. Talk soon.